YouTube, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Look, something weird is happening in crypto, and every time you zoom out, it just gets louder. The world's biggest money managers are acting like they know exactly what is coming. And Brad Garlinghouse, the man, the myth, the legend, that's right. Guess what? He just confirmed it. And if you're not paying attention right now, I am telling you, you are going to regret it. We're going to start right here. As you know, Brad is overseas at the Binance conference. He just broke the silence. Brad isn't tossing out hype or cute sound bites anymore. We're past that. This is not 2017. He is flat out calling 2026 the most bullish year crypto has ever seen. And the receipts behind it are absolutely absurd. Franklin Templeton, BlackRock, Vanguard, Bank of America, you name it, folks. All the firms your parents trusted for retirement are now marching directly into our backyard, the crypto ETF arena, and they're all doing it with conviction. Listen to this clip.
What's your take on this too? Do you think the ETF floor was overhyped?
Definitely no. Obviously, what you were describing is all data correct. But I think you got to zoom out a little bit further and realize that this ETFs didn't exist because of the regulatory problems in the United States. They didn't exist. And in the last 2 or 3 weeks, over $700 million have flown into XRP ETFs, which is just it's pent-up demand from institutional investors, from investors who want access because they don't want to custody themselves, what have you. But look, again, if you zoom out to the macro level, the total ETF market, only 1 or 2% of the total ETF market is crypto. I will bet anybody here that a year from now, that will be more than 1 or 2%. There's going to continue to be inflows, and yes, you can take a snapshot of time and say, okay, there's a billion left Bitcoin ETFs or whatever the data you cited a moment ago. But if you zoom out a little bit further and say, okay, over 2026, do we really think crypto ETFs are only going to be 1 or 2% of the total ETF market? No chance. And so that, again, it's one of those macro tailwinds where Ripple sits in a position where we see, particularly from our Ripple Prime, the prime brokerage business, we see a lot of interesting activity where institutions that have been on the sidelines, maybe because of regulatory clarity, maybe because of risk aversion, for whatever reasons they've been on the sidelines, they're getting involved. And they're starting small, and they're going to walk, then they're going to crawl, then they're going to walk, then they're going to run. And I think it's going to create a lot of tailwind.
So this moment in the market hasn't necessarily spooked institutional capital. That's what you're saying?
Definitely not.
Think about that, though. He's saying that they're barely entering, that they are just walking in, right? Crawling. They're coming in slowly. And XRP's hit over, what, 800 million now? Folks, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. He stated ETFs won't stay at 1 to 2% of the entire ETF market. He believes that the early inflows, especially into XRP, this is only the warm up. And honestly, he's right. The demand is real, the appetite, it is obvious. And the way these firms move, the avalanche usually starts small because it wipes out everything in front of it. This is the calm before the ridiculous part of the story, folks. But let's take a quick promo break. If you're looking to book your one-on-one call and you're like, hey, I need someone to walk me through this whole macro mess and help me position correctly. Exact reason why the calls are up there. And if you're not ready for that, hey, well, at least hop onto the free crypto newsletter. I send breakdowns, data, ETF inflows, and early alerts before they show up elsewhere. Links are down below. Now we're going to get over to this, XRPrightnow.com, your one and only crypto news source. Check it out. I published an article titled XRP Could Surge When Fed Eases Policy. Let's get into this. Because the moment that Fed halted, everything changed. Everything. Bitcoin instantly popped to a 3-week high. XRP started climbing off of ETF inflows and liquidity. The thing that fuels every bull run, it finally came back into the system. This wasn't some random bounce. This was not the dead cat bounce, right? This was $13 billion injected into our heartbeat through overnight repo operations. That is the kind of money printer hum that you want to hear. This hasn't been heard since 2008. And back then, it sparked a multi-year bull market that people are still talking about today. Look, analysts are split out there. Some say This ends in a monster rally. Others warn about a December correction, but here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud, but I will. Whenever the Fed eases, risk assets explode, and crypto usually leads the pack. XRP has reacted exactly the way a supply-tight asset reacts when liquidity arrives. Go check out that article, a lot of great information in it. Then we get over to this. This is BlackRock CEO. Guess what he said? He finally admitted he was wrong. That's right. I mean, honestly, this shocked me. This dude fought crypto for how long? And now his Bitcoin ETF product is making him the most money out of all of his products. This is the CEO of a $10 trillion firm, people. He's the most powerful asset manager on the planet. He stood in front of the cameras. Well, I guess he sat in front of the cameras. And he said, yeah, I was wrong about Bitcoin and crypto. Listen.
Called crypto an index for money laundering. BlackRock
and thieves.
And thieves.
Yes.
Money laundering and thieves. You now have the biggest Bitcoin ETF. So what happened here?
I have very strong views, but that doesn't mean I'm not wrong. By having strong views, you have to test yourself and ask yourself. And, in my role, I see thousands of clients a year. I have, governmental leaders, and we have these conversations, and my thought process always evolves. And this is a very glaring public example of a big shift in my opinion.
First of all, kudos to him for admitting he was wrong. That takes a man to admit when they're wrong, right? And he said his opinion has shifted completely. That sentence alone might be the most important macro signal of the decade. When BlackRock admits that they misjudged crypto, that's not commentary, folks. That is your starting gun, which gets us over to this. Brad Garlinghouse, he's back, folks. He's not playing small ball anymore. I like this side of Brad. I like when Brad comes out and he starts making predictions. He's loose now, and you could tell that there is a different feel, like a different vibe to him. Ever since, Trump got into office, Paul Atkins is at helm of the SEC, the lawsuit's done, all of that crap is behind him. He doesn't have to be so tight-lipped. He's out there and he's freely just speaking his mind and what he thought, because I'll tell you right now, this prediction by Brad Garlinghouse saying that Bitcoin's going to hit 180,000 by the end of next year, this is massive. And you know what? He's right. He is 100% right. Listen to this clip.
I'll go out on the limb and I'll say Bitcoin 180,000 December 31st, 2026.
All right, where's the prediction market around that now? It'll be live in 2 seconds.
Look, he put an actual number on the board. He doesn't do that often. Call it bold, call it aggressive, call it whatever you want. But when the CEO of Ripple, a guy who's been on the front lines with the regulators and the institutions, throws out a target like that, you don't just brush it off. He knows who is going to be getting involved in the crypto. He knows where this is going. He knows a lot more than me and you. And if we see it, imagine what he can see. Because look, that kind of Bitcoin move, it doesn't happen alone. It's going to drag the entire altcoin market with it. And XRP, historically, it moves harder and faster when liquidity starts to pour in. Which brings us over to Paul Atkins. The SEC chair came out and said that they will embrace innovation exemption for crypto firms. That's correct. You heard that. This isn't the Jay Clayton, Gary Gensler show anymore. Paul Atkins said that they will embrace, the SEC will embrace innovation exemption for crypto firms. For years, the SEC's been a wall. Now they're saying, yeah, a new framework is coming and we're actually fine with it. This is the exact moment the rules start changing for crypto instead of going against them. Listen.
And do you think that can happen before the end of the year?
Well, we'll see. We're working with Congress and we're providing what we call technical assistance to them regarding legislation to make sure that they're staying on what makes sense and that meshes with other laws and whatnot. And we'll see. I can't prognosticate that, but we have enough authority to drive forward. I'm looking forward to having an innovation exemption that we've been talking about now. We'll be able to get that out in a month or so is what I'm hoping. We were impeded a bit by the government shutdown. Obviously, we couldn't work on things during that time, but we're on track and we will be able to forge forward with the crypto area and make sure that we are able to embrace this new area of innovation that...
Look, make no mistake about it. As soon as the Genius Act and Clarity Act get passed, crypto is going to fly. Your institutional money, it's already started to come in. Going back to Brad's comment, it is slowly entering. At some point, it will go from crawling to walking to running to sprinting. And that's exactly what the SEC is going to help bring once these acts are passed. And then Brad Garlinghouse again. This is very interesting. At Binance Blockchain Week, someone asked Brad if the US is finally done being hostile towards crypto. He didn't hesitate. He didn't sugarcoat it. He said yes. Then he went on even further here to explain that regulatory clarity is here and people who are underpricing how big this shift is. He said the entire change hit so fast that most of these institutions, they don't even realize what just happened. The Clarity Act won't pass this year, but Brad expects it in the first half of 2026. So let me translate to you what he just said. When the rules become clear, trillions move fast. Then he dropped the G Treasury bomb. Ripple put out there the acquisition, a couple of Mondays ago. And then within days, it stated that the number of their corporate clients reaching out about stablecoins is incredible. Listen to Brad.
I think one of the things that Binance has done incredibly well, the numbers that Richard's talking about, 300 million people, they're bringing people into crypto. We all want, there's an echo chamber that we all experience of people in crypto. But the amazing thing about the passionate pioneers that are here in this room is they've been in. We just want that audience to grow. And I think what you're seeing happen in the United States with regulatory clarity, Richard earlier referenced the Genius Act. The Genius Act is regulatory clarity for stablecoins. And you're already seeing more institutional interest in stablecoin payments. Ripple purchased a company called G Treasury recently, which has visibility into over $10 trillion of payments from their corporate customers. And the number of those customers who are already, the acquisition closed Monday. The number of those customers that are already approaching us interested in leveraging stablecoins for the flexibility, for better yield, as a trusted resource is, because of that clarity, people are leaning in. We don't yet have, obviously Ripple went through a long lawsuit with the US government, and XRP received regulatory clarity from the federal courts. We have been championing, and I know Team Solana has been championing regulatory clarity for crypto broadly in what is generally called the Clarity Act in the United States. There's still forward momentum on that. I don't think it's going to happen this year, which the President Trump has kind of championed. But I think sometime in the first half of next year, we'll see passage of legislation, which will...
Look, if you ever wanted proof that corporations want crypto rails, this is it. The US isn't fighting crypto anymore. They are preparing to scale it, which brings us over to this. XRP holders gain new yield opportunities. Once again, XRPrightnow.com. Firelight Protocol. This might end up being one of the sneakiest catalysts people overlook and introducing something that XRP hasn't had natively at scale. On-chain staking. Yield real utility inside DeFi. You deposit your XRP, you get back XRP. Now you can use it all over the Flare ecosystem, trading, collateral, liquidity pools, borrowing, yield strategies. It's like turning your XRP into an income generating asset while keeping it liquid. Something institutions love because it mirrors traditional securities lending, something they actually understand. Backed by Flare and Sinatra. Multiple ordered, security first design. This is the kind of infrastructure Wall Street sees and they think, okay, now we can play. So let's end it like this, folks. Look, we're living through the setup phase of something massive. The largest asset manager in the world are coming in. The Fed is easing. Regulation is flipping. Infrastructure, it is finally launching. And XRP, it is quietly building the rails they all need once the dust settles. 2026 isn't hype. It's going to be a collision course. I am excited for next year for crypto. I told you everything happens under Trump and everything will happen under Trump. Make sure you hit that thumbs up on your way out.